The amount of independent artists out there right now, absolutely crushing it, that are Christians.
It's insane.
I'm not a one-hit wonder. I'm the product of consistency and hard work over time. I think I'm good for music, but I think I am bad for the industry. And the world of artists that are making music at a high level that people are listening to, I want to have the most songs. To think that leading worship is like the epitome of serving God, it's kind of a small-minded way of thinking. If people would open their minds to how great God is, and like not just like great, like God, you're huge, but it's like, God, you are the best thing I know about. I believe that people that appear to be okay without God in their life have an inner conflict that they do not talk about. At the end of the day, life's really freaking simple. You need food, who need water, and who need a purpose.
We are created by God to create with a driven purpose.
Number one tip.
Just start making stuff.
How do we seek? How do we ask for wisdom?
That's such a good question.
Have fun being what God has called you to be as a creative.
Mic drop.
No, thanks for being here, bro.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah.
I live here.
Well, this is my podcast.
It is your podcast, but it's in my domain expansion. No, sorry, I just random anime.
All right, we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
So we're co-hosting today.
I'm glad I'm still here.
John Michael Howell, the co-host of Created to Create, just announced 2 seconds ago, actually. So you're here live for the press release.
Thank you, dude. I'm glad to be here. Dude, I'm so glad to be here. That's a freaking cool hat, by the way, dude.
Oh, dude,
it's a really
thank
cool
you,
hat.
bro. Yeah,
I like that.
Got it from this cool company called He Would Love First.
Yeah.
If you look closely, y'all can't see it right now, but if you go to the website, you can. There's like this white comma after Jesus. It says Jesus set me free, but then there's a white comma after Jesus. So it's kind of like an outward statement of Jesus set me free.
Yeah.
But then to me, I'm constantly being like, Jesus set me free. It's a prayer.
Wow, that's kind of smart, low-key.
It is.
I like that.
They're pretty cool over there. They're pretty smart. Actually, I have something for you.
Oh, yeah?
From them.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Oh, let's go. Dude, I'll give you multiple seconds, dude. I'm very generous. Hey, yo.
Little t-shirt.
Heck yeah.
And a hat. I'm gonna put this here too.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm a hat swap,
Little
bro.
friend of God action. And
Yeah,
then,
that's me.
Yeah,
That's
you
me,
are a
bro.
friend of God.
They put my name on there. Oh, that's gas. Thank you, bro. I freaking love this.
It's a proper way to welcome you to the podcast.
I was eyeballing that hat, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I mean, if you want one of these, I can get you one too. Just say
That's
the word.
fire. Yeah, look at this, people.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
No, their stuff is really great quality too. I wear it all the time. If you guys want any merch, go get some. I wouldn't even call it merch. It's way better than merch. It's more of just a life statement that you get to wear, and it's a great piece that is stylish, but also allows me to kind of share a bit of my heart with people just right off the bat.
That's fire.
I'm not trying to blast it in their face, but they see it, they ask, and then I get to have a conversation with them. So,
I love it. I'm all about that.
Yeah, bro.
I'm gonna wear this a lot.
It's sick. It's sick. But let's talk about you, bro. You're a musician of sorts.
I'm a musician of sorts.
You've released a few songs,
Couple.
like 120 or something like that.
Yeah, there's 120 on my discography.
At least 120.
Yeah.
Yeah, and many more that haven't been released.
Yes. It's true.
I think last year you released 52 songs in 52 weeks.
53
right?
songs.
53 weeks.
Yeah, there was 1 week I put out 2 songs.
No way.
So it was a song a week for a whole year.
And then when was the 2 songs?
It was around my birthday. So I
that's
randomly had put out this song called 24. I was turning 24. And it's like the alternate world version of 22 by Taylor Swift. It's like if me wrote it, you know?
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened.
You did write it, actually.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so I doubled up that week.
Yeah.
With the regular drop and then that one.
Still 53.
53
is even crazier than 52.
I agree.
A song a week. Normally people don't even release more than like 5 songs in a year, maybe.
Which really sucks. It really sucks. And it's
bad for the industry.
Yeah, it's bad for...
Or are you bad for the industry?
It's well, there you go.
No, I think you're good for the industry.
I think I'm good for music, but I think I am bad for the industry in some cases.
Spicy.
You know,
we'll get into that.
Because you need to drop more music. The thing is attention is getting smaller and smaller every single day. And the amount of people viewing and listening is just growing every single day. Like you can look at the total amount of people on Spotify this year compared to last year. Same thing with iTunes and all the social media apps. And there is so many people observing content. And so unless you're putting out a lot of content, and a lot of people are putting out content as well, you're never going to get ahead of the curve. So that's why a lot of the independent guys are winning right now. It's because they made their life simple enough to where they can just post a lot of music, not have to worry about having a runway and having a team and having all these things. So in a lot of ways, independent people are really winning right now. And it's dangerous for parts of the industry that still want to hold on to what was,
Yeah. And what was.
Well, what was, I mean, if we go all the way back, historically speaking, I mean, before there were online DSPs and there were ways that's basically just a way to get your music online or distributed to different places. There was only physical copies at one point in time. There was only, you had to have somebody who was able to promote you, like literally like on the radio, in the newspaper, print your CDs, record you in a studio. There was no like computers to make music on,
knocking on doors, handing out copies.
I mean, literally, I put you on tours, like all kinds of things. Like you really needed a team to be able to accomplish that task, because there was no such thing as just free exposure. And like people like Gary Vee go on and on and on about like how the internet's so cheap. Like, and he's saying that because he comes from a time where like, if you want to get an ad place, if you want to get attention on something, you have to pay a decent amount of money. And compared to what you're able to get today for free, it's not even apples to apples. It is like so far apart. The fact that you can post a video on social media, and it could even be your first video. I've seen it happen many times. Someone's like, one of their first TikToks they ever post gets millions of views. And if you get millions of views on a TikTok that your song's in it, or you're promoting your song, then you're going to get hundreds of thousands of streams from that. And you're going to make real money from that. And so that did not exist back then. So the old way is you need a label for everything. You need a label to even be able to have a music career. And even my dad was an independent artist as well. He was an independent Christian artist. And even 15 years ago when he was doing it, when the internet was kind of in diapers, I mean, he figured out how to make it happen, but it was super hard in terms of just the knowledge you had to acquire, the things you had to do, and the grind you had to take. And there were less roads available. And so he managed to make it work for him, but not without crazy. A ton of effort. And
probably, would you say a lot more time than the time you put in, or do you see that? Like,
no, but because
you grind.
Yes, I wouldn't say that, but I would say that there were less obvious. There was a way less obvious path in his day to becoming successful at music as there is now. We both grinded, but the things that I don't have to grind at, thanks to the internet, allows me to make more music than he probably was able to make, if that makes sense. Because there's a lot of things you had to worry about. And there's a lot of things he had to do in terms of like, printing CDs, getting CDs in stores, and like all these stores, and the whole infrastructure around music was built around labels. So it's like nowadays there's a much greater path and much more ease to have exposure should you do the right thing, should you be diligent enough, and all these things. Whereas back then that infrastructure kind of didn't exist.
Because have you even like gotten a CD or a record with your music on it yet?
A long time ago. Okay. Like 7 years ago, back whenever CDs were still a thing. I did like some of my first projects. We printed a few to sell at shows and things.
But that's just like crazy that the fact you've released 120 songs and almost none of them, most of them are not on a physical copy that you've necessarily sold, which is crazy to see the shift in digital times.
All digital. It's.
Do you plan to do that though?
To print to CDs? I mean,
or even
I wouldn't print to CDs, because I think CDs are
CDs are definitely
a bit obsolete. Because here's the thing about the difference of, some people, they're printing vinyls and they're printing tapes as well. That's made a huge comeback. There's a huge difference between those and CDs. CDs is the same. We were just talking about it actually a couple nights ago in the hot tub. Was that last night?
2 nights ago.
It was 2 nights ago in the hot tub.
Which, by the way, I didn't say this earlier, but thank you for hosting me.
Oh, 100%.
Thank you for allowing me to just jump in and like live life with you and your family for the past couple of days. It's been 48 hours. 48 hours. And I feel like I'm part of the family. You guys are awesome.
You are part of the family.
I appreciate it.
And thanks for pulling up. And what we were talking about in the hot tub was the difference between analog and digital, right? And like, essentially, if I were to boil down recording analog versus recording digital, it's analog is the most real physical way to record something, and digital has to be translated into computer code and then retranslated back into stuff we can hear. So there's a layer that has to happen of coding and then decoding for digital things to exist. So like all the songs you hear now, it's all obviously went through that digital coding. It's got really good, but what computers have to do is, back in the day, you know, if you're going to record something, you know, before even CDs existed, you were singing into like a mic like this. And what this mic is doing is there's a magnet in here that's resonating with my voice. The power of my voice is powering this mic. My voice and the energy coming from it is shaking a little magnet in there. That little shaking of a magnet turns into electrons going down this cable that goes, and back in the day what would happen is that cable would go into a preamp, and what a preamp is it's something that just amplifies that signal, and then you're going to a magnet is then shaking a needle, and that needle has a magnet on it, and it's pulling up actual physical magnetic solution on a tape onto an actual piece of tape. Yes, so an actual piece of tape, an actual magnet is wiggling and it's reflecting the frequencies going into the mic, and it's physically putting that onto a physical thing, which was tape. Wow. And so the difference with digital is this cable goes into an interface. That interface is digitally trying to encode what I'm saying. So it's saying, okay, if I were to reproduce this on a computer, sounds mostly like a series of 1100111000, and then after a while it's like you have just the tiniest fraction of audio in time. And so with DVDs, and sorry, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but with DVDs,
I'm happy that you're talking about it.
With DVDs, they are old school, but they're very different than vinyls and tape, because vinyls and tape, you can still get things onto those, and you're listening in a more analog fashion, because with the tape, it's the same thing as I was just telling you. It's like a needle actually moves like physical information onto a piece of tape. And then with a vinyl, all the dynamics and everything about a song is physically pressed into a disc that then a needle scratches that disc, and a little microphone, same way we were talking about, takes the frequency and then it goes to an amplifier and then amplifies the sound. So it's a more analog, more true way of listening to music. And that's why I would that's such a long answer, but that's why I would rather do like vinyls and tapes. I'd probably never do CDs again, and
it's a little bit more timeless at this point too. I don't know if CDs will ever fully come back to being timeless. Like records were like one of the first ways of like placing your music on a disc format or tape format, and like being able to play that portably in some aspect. And then you had tapes, and then now you have, and like film and stuff, and then they came out with like CDs, and CDs were kind of like this weird, awkward phase of maturation. Yeah, where like we were going from like analog to digital,
exactly,
to like full digital. And so I agree. I don't know if CDs will ever fully make a comeback.
Yeah, because you're right. They were like,
I'm not an expert, but that's like my.
They were like Alpha 1, to what we have now, which is just stream it, or you know what I'm saying, like just have a digital copy stored on a hard drive versus because a CD is a hard drive. Yeah, that's just like only holds whatever it holds, a movie or a piece of music or whatever. And so now it's like the device, the actual thing you listen to it on, we'll just put the song on the hard drive of that thing, versus you having to buy individual hard drives to listen to one album or one
whole
movie.
Stack of CDs.
Exactly, it's just a bunch of hard drives. And so we're still using that same technology, obviously, but it's just different. We're putting it onto an actual, either a disc inside of a computer that's the hard drive, or an SSD, which is just a solid state drive or whatever, or disk.
Speaking of like hard drives and all of that good stuff, I want to switch over to like the creative world too, because not only are you a musician, but I would call you a content creator as well.
For sure.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
How did you like get into that world and kind of like teach yourself that level of creativity, and how important is that to the success of your music career as well?
Well, to answer the tail end of that question, it's so important to everyone's music career now. I mean, there will always be people that make songs that are just so unbelievably, undeniably like the greatest thing ever, to the point where they don't need to be promoted as much.
Yeah.
But for the grand majority of us hacks, you know, people that are hacks at music, you got to use social media, you know. And here's another point outside of, you know, just posting so your song gets attention. I mean, there are so many talented artists in the world who are able to do the same exact thing that you're able to do, that are just as good as you, that are just as everything as you. Yeah. And so something has got to, you know, make a difference between you and them if you want to get ahead of any sort of competition in music. And so typically what I attribute a lot of that to is social media, like your ability to know how to make content that connects with people, that is also able to simultaneously entertain and sell your song. You know, that's like, that skill in and of itself is worth so much. I mean, the jobs you could get, the jobs I could get for
just doing that,
the jobs I could get for just making content and just selling a product or whatever it is, you know, probably comparable to just my actual career. But it's, you know,
labels would pay a bunch of money for you to come do that for them.
Yeah, or companies or like whatever.
Or single artists that need help doing it.
Because music's a very hard thing to sell, simply because of the amount of people that are making music. There are so many songs that come out every single day. There are so many artists in the world, so many talented artists in the world. And it's like low key everybody's dream to like do music. You know what I'm saying? You know, like everybody wants to be, it's like a singer or like an athlete or something. You know what I'm saying? And so,
and as a consumer on my end, there's only so many hours for me to consume the music.
Exactly. So you got to be all this stuff. You got to be winning at something. Back in the day, there was, you know, more of a tolerance for if a record actually wasn't that incredible, but it was just something that you could buy and it's decent, you know, because there's less people who are able to go through a label to print the discs, to get them into stores, to get your songs on the radio and all that jazz. Like, people who had the most attention probably won out over, you know, smaller independent people, you know, like signed acts were really the thing. And so now just every act is on full blast all the time. So something's got to make your music win. It's music's either got to be like the greatest thing anyone's ever heard, which is really hard to do, or it can be as good, like it can be like the true to you, you know, and it can be true art to you, and it can be like a perfect expression of whatever you wanted to express, and then you just promote the heck out of it, you know what I'm saying? And typically for 99.999% of all artists, that's usually what they need to do, is you need to get better at promoting your music. You know, if you love the art you make as an artist, that's all you should really be doing. You should be content at that, and then if you want your music to be heard and sold, you got to be able to promote it.
And storytelling too. We were talking about that like a little earlier today. Or maybe yesterday, but you're talking about like the storytelling of music itself, and lyrically, like there's a talent that people have, and then producing is a talent as well. And when people have both, like that's what makes you special. But I start to think about that, and then how it translates into the creative world, the content creation world, the social media world. And you need to be able to tell the story of not only your music, but you as a person, or whatever persona that you're trying to sell as a musician. And if you're not able to do that, then people can't connect with you as the musician, as the performer, and then you're not gonna be able to build a community around your music.
100%. Yeah, storytelling is the crux of successful content. 100%. Regardless of how authentic or inauthentic that story might be, it's the crux of all entertainment. Yeah, I believe all entertainment is telling a story, and the people who do it the best, doesn't matter if you're an athlete or you're a songwriter, whoever is able to communicate their story the best, and you know, something about their career and what they're doing is telling the best story, you know, they will win at whatever it is.
How do you break down your storytelling? How do you plan that out? Or,
you know, I don't think it's something that I plan all the time. I think one of the best ways you can tell your story is by speaking about your story at all. A lot of people, a lot of artists, they feel like, you know, storytelling isn't about telling all of your everything, but it is about communicating something, you know? And so even for me, in the most mundane of posts, I'm communicating something, you know, even like the random story post, I'm communicating how I am. And for people that know me, they know that I'm just a pretty, you know, I'm on that normalish / weird kind of, you know, like I'm kind of like weirdy normal, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not super wild. I'm, just kind of weird. Some of the things that, I get obsessed with, like arm wrestling, as might be included in the beginning of this episode, or
it's definitely being included.
Like I'll get hyper obsessed with random things. I have kind of a quirky sense of humor. There are a lot, I don't really enjoy partying at all whatsoever, which most humans would not relate to that, you know, and I really kind of enjoy being on the grind all the time. And so all of those things I'm communicating in one way or another through what I'm doing. Even just putting a song out every week, that is storytelling. I'm communicating something, I'm showing something, I'm proving something. The point's being made by everything that I do. And people are so receptive to what's being people are so receptive to authenticity and inauthenticity. So if you're just authentic and you are striving for greatness and you're sharing the process of that, you are communicating a story. And the best story that we can communicate is the authentic one about us. So as long as I'm being authentic on the internet with everything I'm doing, then I'm telling a story. Yeah. And people are seeing that story and they're being inspired by the story. Yeah. So I think being short answer, be authentic. That's the best way to tell your story.
Yeah. You mentioned something about like inauthenticity as well. Does that play a part in storytelling, or is it always authentic? And I guess there's a definition there with inauthenticity. Like, is it being completely fake and not having an ounce of genuineness, or is it playing a part, playing a role in a story that you're trying to sell, in a persona that you're trying to sell for the career?
Right. I'm saying what I'm talking about mainly is generally speaking. Someone's like, how do I tell my story better? I'd say post more, do more, and while you're doing those things, be authentic. That's the number one way to sell personally your story as an artist. You should be very real with what you're communicating about and what you're doing. If you're telling other stories, you should be real to whatever the conviction of that story is. The feelings that you feel, the places you want to go. Like if you think about
flip flop back and forth, essentially.
Well, I mean, I think it's just a different thing. Like what I'm talking about is mainly how does an artist tell their story, and I would say for most everybody, how an artist tells their story or the persona they're trying to convey is to authentically convey that thing. So like if I'm Daft Punk, I'm saying I'm not showing my face, but something's being communicated through all their songs, through what they're doing, and they're really successful, which means they had to have worked very hard. In all that hard work, there's something being communicated.
People relate to it,
and there's
obviously
some sort of conviction that they have behind that. And so whatever, like I can have a dream, right? I can have a dream, or I can have an idea that is not grounded in reality, but I can be very passionate about that idea and the way that it makes me feel and what it does for me. And I can articulate that in authenticity, I think the fastest way to do something inauthentically is to compromise your own standards for the art you're creating. So if you want to be inauthentic, if you were to reverse engineer it, how do I be inauthentic? Compromise whatever it was, like compromise that one line, compromise that one drum section you made, compromise parts about what you're doing, and you will not be truly authentic to the idea that you're trying to communicate and that you're trying to impress upon people.
But to be clear, you're saying not to do that and to be authentic in whatever you're doing. You think that's the best route? Well,
I'm saying that authenticity can be you being truthful about your personality in your life, or it can be you being truthful about the story you're trying to tell and not compromise on the way you want to tell it, because just like in the Daft Punk, I think that's they're telling and have told a great story, and I think it's may not be completely true of personally them, but that's not the story. They're not trying to tell you the story of whoever those individuals are, what I'm saying? They're trying to tell the story of Daft Punk, what I'm saying? And so for me, as an artist who's a solo artist, I'm not in a band and whatever, the only story I'm trying to tell right now with my music is me and the observations I make about life, So what that allows me to do is to just be authentic with who I am and my personality, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. Do you think you're surprised at how much people have related to that and gravitated towards your story?
So surprised.
Really?
I'm so surprised because my goal is always, how do I be authentic? How do I make the songs I want to make? Number one for sure, but then post the things I want to post. And it's amazing to me how receptive people are on whenever you're being real and how much they understand very specific things about your story that you may have never even said. Yeah. That really wilds me out. Yeah. Like people like seem to really like people who are really fans of me seem to really understand my grind. They really seem to really understand my drive. They understand facets of my personality that are correct. I'll be reading the comments and I'm like, they're right. And I'm not sure what I did to like, you know, show them that, except for I'm just trying to be me all the time. And you
posted a therapy session. I don't know if you realized that. That was like 6 months ago. You posted a therapy session.
A therapy session?
I
did?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. Jokes go over my head all the time, bro. So it's not your fault. I got
dry humor.
Homeschooled.
Dry humor. Oh, dude, I was homeschooled too.
Did we talk about that?
We did, but I'm gonna act like we didn't because this is sick.
Homeschool dap up, bro.
There's not many homeschoolers out there. So
that was a homeschool dap up, by the way.
The producer Ben is also homeschooled. So
yeah, we just dapped up in the most homeschooled way, by the way. Like it wasn't a dap.
Yeah. Do you want me to teach you the LA dap? Have I talked about it before?
Yeah, let's go for it, and I'm gonna see if I already know it.
Okay. Here we go. Let me put this down. All right, ready?
Yep. Nope.
Oh, you were close. The snap is after the fist bump.
After the fist bump.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We'll try it again. Ready?
Yeah.
Right, here we go.
No, I'm just kidding. I got you.
You're wild, bro. There it is.
See, dude, I'm just stable, bro. I'm like, I'll let you do the work, bro, and my hand's just gonna be there. That's up to you, bro. However you want to caress my hand, that's up to you, bro.
I'll caress.
That's how I set the tone with all my handshakes. I'm like, whatever you want to do, just know it's all on you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like, if you want to do something weird in my hand, I'm not talking about you, but anyone. I'm like, you can do it, but it's you. It's all you with the weirdness. I'm just gonna put my hand there.
Responsibility and risk with
my hand's just gonna be out there. Do with it as you please, within reason, or else I will call the cops.
Funny thing, I found this out like a few months ago. I don't know if anybody else knows this, but apparently there's this thing with men where when you shake someone's hand and then you put your left hand, if you're shaking with your right, you put your left hand on their right elbow as you shake. Apparently,
you want to murder
that
them,
signifies not that you want to murder them, but that signifies that you are above them.
Right. I'm gonna stop doing that.
That they have to like.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah, you could do that.
I didn't know that though.
Or you could just.
Everybody's been touching my elbow recently.
Really?
No.
Okay, I was about to say, dude, let's go beat him up right now.
I'm down.
If someone did that to me and it wasn't a joke, I would not voice it, but I would have a serious problem with it.
I would. I would because I know.
I have a real problem with when people play like little power games with me. Oh, there's nothing.
It's inauthentic. You're not even being true to yourself in that moment with the other person.
Yeah, and usually like I think the little power game, because everyone kind of plays them a little bit, you know. Definitely. But like people who are really overcompensate with power, it shows a level of insecurity, you know.
Well, it's so easy to get into. It's so easy to fall into, I will say. To think that you have something over someone, especially when you don't know them yet.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I don't know you, so I'm going to play this game of like standing off, but also I'm going to like do these things in our interactions that like tell you that I'm a little bit better than you. It's so easy to do.
It's weird. And it's like, I'm not wired that way. The same people that are playing all those power games are the same people who are trying to be like the king of the club. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And I hate the club. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that I have a great community, and the people that I befriend and like have relationships with and begin to have relationships with are people who like, they have to pass that like, I'm trying to pull one over on you filter. You know what I'm saying? Because I hate that. And I may not even know exactly why, but like more so than other people, like I hate that stuff so much. Like all those little games.
Well, you know something about you. Two things. First off, I do appreciate you because you don't do that at all. You are very genuine. From the first time that I met you, there was never any small little power game. So know that about yourself and keep doing it and keep allowing God to move through you. But the second thing is, oh shoot, I just forgot.
Oh, I hate it, bro. If you would have taken pre-workout earlier.
Dude, I should have taken pre-workout.
Yeah, you wouldn't have forgot that right now.
No, dude. Literally just
staring in my eyes, man. What do you see?
Myself.
Why does everyone got beautiful eyes around here, bro? Like all my friends, I figured this out. I just went on a cruise with all my homies. I'm the only guy with the default Fortnite skin, bro. I just have brown eyes and brown hair. Like I'm the default, like I'm the default like mostly white guy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like
I feel like blue and green eyes are default though.
You feel like that?
I feel like that. Yeah.
Really?
Like blue and green eyes are like default, like actually white people.
Oh, default white people. But I'm saying like
Are you
from human genesis. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
like I think somehow somebody smart figured out that everyone kind of started out with like kind of like middle, like darker than me, but not like black skin and like brown eyes and black hair.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I agree.
And then somehow everything kind of slowly like peeled off from that and became all the races.
Definitely the majority of the population of the earth would land in your ballpark. With the eyes, at least.
In me? Oh, yeah, with my eyes. Yeah,
with
for sure. Because I think
not many people
most people in like Eastern Europe, I think all have like brown eyes. Like I think it's pretty rare, like in a lot of places of the world, for there to be any non-brown eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then there are places. I feel like I don't have any basis to say this, but like I feel like most of the people with the crazy eye colors are in or the mutated eye colors are in America for some reason.
Well, America is just a melting pot.
Yeah, but also like Americans are some of the most sunburn attracting people. You know? And that's a mutation. That's
sunburnable. Is that a word?
Yes.
Are you sunburnable?
Extra sunburnable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. It depends on how ethnic I am or am not in a particular case. Like I might like fry up like a fish or just not get burned at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's but I feel like in America you have people that like, dude, like that's a death wish, just like sticking a person out in the sun for too long. You know what I'm saying?
For most people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like go be in the sun, white person. It's like, okay, you want me to die? Wow.
Actually, if you're out there,
you know what I'm saying? If you're out
especially in Texas, bro, your sun is crazy.
Yeah, dude.
The sun is wild out here.
Well, we got the Son of God out here, Bible Belt.
SOG. Well, let's move on. I definitely forgot my thought completely, but if it comes back, I'll let you know. It was definitely going to be a compliment.
Well, thank you for what you were. Thank you for what you were saying.
Of course,
I can see where you're going.
Of course, yeah. I'll text it to you later.
Thank you.
Let's bring God into it a little bit though, with the storytelling and just being genuine and true to yourself. You were a worship leader at one point. Mm-hmm. Now you're doing secular music. Mm-hmm. How do you bring your faith into the secular music? Do you try to do that? Does it just happen naturally? What's your MO? What's your mission?
I both try to do it and it happens naturally. Okay. You know, like I love Jesus and I'm a Christian and I've been a Christian for a long time. And I genuinely have a relationship with Jesus. Not only that, but I genuinely understand why this is the religion that I'm a part of. You know what I'm saying? I genuinely am that person. So there's no escaping that's going to seep out of everything that I do, you know?
Yeah.
You know, whether it be just that none of my music's explicit or the one verse in that one song or whatever it may be. Like there is absolutely, I know it's more of a new agey word, but there is an aura about everything I do that has a feeling of godliness and of purity. That makes sense. I don't like using the word purity, but like a purity about it.
Not purity culture, but just an essence of being pure.
Like if you ever like watch like a really like dirty movie and listen to a bunch of dirty music, I'm like the opposite of that. Like I kind of give the opposite.
Good. People feel good after listening to it. They're like fulfilled. They're filled up with something.
And like with my songs, you know, for the most part, I try to not be at all degrading. You know, if it's a breakup song, you know, I'm not going to utilize that song to talk about how terrible somebody is. I'm going to use it to provide a moment of introspection so people can see like, oh, this, you know, maybe a revelation about it or like an understanding about a breakup that a lot of people aren't thinking about. Like even like one of my most popular songs, like The Villain, it's taking
Fire,
that thank you. It's taking that scenario and it's really shining the light back on yourself and talking about how like, you know, you were kind of the person that did the heartbreaking, that you're kind of like, we have to, if we want to grow in life, we have to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and we have to be able to assess ourselves, you know, and we have to be willing to be the person who's wrong, you know, even whenever we feel like we're absolutely right. And so that does come out a lot in my songwriting. In the more obvious ways, I'll post scriptures, I'll post I'll post about God. I'll post about, you know what I'm saying? I'll do these different things. It's not out yet, but I just started a theology podcast. I'll do things that are overtly I'll do things that are overtly in that Christian like market. But I'm also careful to let what my artistry has become be what it is, you know, because there's a bit, for me, there's a bigger and greater relevance to that than scaring everybody off immediately with all my theological knowledge or whatever it may be. And that's something that I've learned over time, you know, and like for me, it's more important that people who pull up to my shows are people that aren't particularly of Christian background, so that I can, you know, have a moment in my show where I give people an opportunity to hear about Jesus. And you know what I'm saying? Like that. And whenever I do post about Jesus, like I want to do it in a way and steward that in a way where the people who are going to be watching that or being inspired by that aren't all Christians, you know, because, you know, Christians who got God, it's, you know, I'm not necessarily always trying to reach those people, you know, like I have, like I said, the theology thing and different things that will absolutely be there for them. But there are so many great ministers. There are so many great people who are feeding people who are already Christians out there. And I think that the place that God has me in right now is very specific in the sense that I get to minister and reach people that are not a part of the Christian religion or don't have any ties or affiliation to it. Because those people absolutely need to be reached. And so that's that's kind of my goal right now with the artistry. So I'm going to let that be that. And then whatever else comes down in the future, let that be that. But like you said, I was also, you know, I was on staff at a church for 11 years, you know, and like, as a worship leader, essentially full on ministry in a way. Like you're doing a job, but you're in ministry, and it's I was full-time ministry. Jesus, I was full-time ministry. Yeah. And that's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I think what made you make the switch? Sorry. I have to be real with like what my passions are, and my passion for God stayed the same, but my passion for leading worship absolutely changed. So I just, you know, I'd always feel constantly drained and kind of like not resent, but I would not look forward to leading worship in a positive way. Like I'd be like, oh, I gotta do this, you know? And I just realized, man, you know, I feel like I'm close enough with God that if he's moving my heart one way or another, that's going to come out in a spark and a passion. And the spark was all in the mainstream artistry that I'm in. And I even like, I personally, like, I don't care if someone else says it, but like, I personally steer away from the word secular, because that's a church invented word to describe all music that's not specifically about God. I agree. It was just a general term. If that were no, you're good. But like, if that were the case, you got to remove a lot of stuff from the Bible, like Song of Solomon. Like you got to remove, because it's like, it's not overtly God created life, and so many things that happen in life, just because they don't say the word Jesus in them doesn't mean that they're not of God or they're not a part of his nature, whatever it is. So for me, whenever I'm communicating these real stories or these stories that I think up, or if I'm painting this picture or whatever, I believe that it's my job to tell that authentically, because my ability to create and my ability to tell a story about some facet of life is a reflection of the creative nature that God put inside of me, you know? And I think there is a certain amount of Christians who they've been kind of taught to, like, if anything is not saying the word Jesus in it, it's the devil and it's wrong and it's demonic and it's whatever it is. But I think those people, I mean, I don't mean to be offensive to those people, but it is a bit of a small-minded approach to really boil down all of life to, it has to say the word Jesus, because I believe that Jesus is a part of all life. Obviously, there are things that happen that's not in his will to happen. You know, it's more of a theological thing, but life itself and the creation of the world and the clouds and the ability to create music, all of those are God-given talents, and all of those are abilities that came from the God nature that was placed inside of me whenever humans were created. And so to boil down life to be only things that can happen inside of a church building is just missing the point, I think, a little bit. I think that's wonderful. I would say more than a little bit. Yeah, but there's so many things about life that are so wonderful. And this is one of the things that push people away from church, you know, is they think that they can't do anything and they can't experience life and they can't be a part of, you know, certain things, or even like think a certain way or do, you know, certain without things. Being shamed or without being shamed away. And I think that shame is from the devil. And so I just don't partake in that. everyone in the world we should be trying to reach all people in the world.
Yeah.
And I believe, especially here, because I live in the Bible Belt, Texas, as I've said like 3 times now,
Yeah.
especially, you know, there are lots of people in churches. There is a church at every corner. And so I think that's wonderful. The church should be there for people. But at the end of the day, there are so many individuals that are made with individual talents and passions. And just because my talent, my passion is in a mainstream genre does not at all make it unholy or ungodly in any sort of way. It makes it a ministry opportunity. And so that's 100%. What it's become for me. And that's what I do with it.
100%. Yeah. I think you're speaking my language, bro. I think people get pigeonholed into either having to work for a church as a creative, speaking specifically about creatives. This can go across the board as well, but we'll stay in our zone, in our lane. But when it comes to creatives, like creatives are pigeonholed either, oh, like if I'm working for the Lord, I have to be a part of a church. In America, it's that way. It's not that way anywhere else. It's in America. And it's really weird to see people get there, or they have that church hurt that you're talking about. And then they're like, no, I'm not going to work for a church, but I'm going to be amazing at what I do. And I'm just going to go build a career for myself. And then I'm going to have that success for myself. Like nobody else can take part of it. You know, Jesus maybe played a little part, but like I'm a self-made man. That's kind of like,
yeah.
I don't believe either of those two extremes are right. I think, you know, we as believers are called to be cultivators of the earth, cultivators of God's kingdom. And he gave us those specific talents for a reason. And so it allows us to bridge that gap, and it allows us to use our talents in a very specific way, use them as a ministry opportunity. But that doesn't mean that as believers, we're just called to kind of like sit around, wait for things to happen, wait for God to kind of like give us opportunities, wait for God to give us the skills or work on the skills. No, we're called to be active with that, and we're called to pursue that and be the best that we can be with the skills that he gave us, you know, multiply 100%. Those talents and keep going. Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting. And I've had this conversation with a few of my other independent friends. The amount of independent artists out there right now, absolutely crushing it, that are Christians is almost 100%.
It's insane.
Almost 100%.
It's very insane.
And there's a reason behind that, man. Yeah. It's almost as if just like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and, you know, all the fathers of the faith. And it's almost just like how those people were so blessed in what they did because they did it as unto God. It's almost like that's exactly what's happening now. It's like back in the day, how do you have a secular sheep? You know what I'm saying? Yep. It's like if you have a big old farm and you're successful at your business, and your business is, we have a lot of cattle, you know, as it was 10,000, 20,000 years ago. What makes a sheep secular, man? And so that's what I'm saying. I think the church has made this great divide because it, for some people, and for at some point, someone felt like, I want to feel self-entitled. I want to feel better than everybody else, you know? And so that's why that kind of started. But if I'm looking at my career and in the songs I make, I'm like, I don't see it as this is a secular sheep. This is a secular song. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the work that I do. You know, Paul built tents, you know what I'm saying? And he also preached. And it's like, this is the work that I do. And we have the amazing opportunity to take the things that we're passionate about and just do them with God, you know? And it doesn't have to become over spiritualized to the point where it's no earthly good, you know? But it's a gift that we have, and it's what makes us us, you know?
It is.
And I think trying to make everybody fit a mold that everyone else before us fits or whatever is just, it's a very boring reality. And I can't imagine that was what God's plan was. Everyone be very much the same and very boring.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think he designed us to be vibrant and to be unique and different, and then to fuse and mold those differences together to build and grow.
By the way, do you know like the scripture that talks about how Jesus freed us from the curse so that the blessing of Abraham can be a part of our lives?
I believe so, but remind me.
Well, you know what the blessing of Abraham is?
What is it?
The blessing of Abraham, the very beginning of it, when God blessed Abraham, he said, I'll bless you and I'll make your name great.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
And then
whenever we were freed from the curse, the blessing of Abraham was able to be a part of us if we're following the Bible. And so what's so interesting about that to me is that I'll make your name great part. And you know, for me, I see as doing life with God, there is a part of that promotes you in life. And whenever I'm looking at all the creatives around me who are in the mainstream market, you know, who are doing what they're doing, but they're doing it as unto God and they love God, it's almost a sign of their devotion to God. I'm not saying that if you're not wildly successful and famous or whatever it is that you don't love God. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but I'm just saying it's interesting to me how there's a commonality between all of these independent artists, you know, that are huge, that are crushing it, that aren't signed to the industry, but are doing their own thing independently and they love God.
Yep.
They're becoming wildly successful at that. I just think that that's so interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's also because like the Lord trusts the righteous with the blessing because he knows that that righteous man is going to do not just good with the blessing, but he's going to give glory to God any and every chance that they get. And then they're going to use the gift even more so to cultivate the earth or cultivate the kingdom of the Lord and bring glory to God. And so if he knows that, hey, this man who I trust, who's pursuing my heart, who's pursuing righteousness, if I give a blessing to him, I know there's an ROI on that and I know I'm going to get back from it.
Yeah.
And so he's going to give to who he trusts.
Yeah. And well, that's just God's nature, man. I mean, I think like my personal theology and what I boil it down to is like God gave us life. God gave us Jesus. God gave us peace. He's a giver. You know what I'm saying? Like God's such a giver. And there, to me,
we don't deserve any of it.
Well, there's nothing I could offer to God. There's nothing I could offer to a being who has everything, who is everything, who's all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing I can offer that person. And so like logically speaking, to me, it's like God is absolutely a giver. And I just believe that the people who partner up with God and I believe that God, like all the rules and the things that he gave us, the 10 Commandments and all these teachings he gave us is not for his benefit. It's for our own benefit because he loves us that much. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe. And so I believe whenever you abide by these things and you trust the word of God and you read the word of God and you study it and you live your life according to it, I believe the result of that is being blessed. You know, the Bible says that the righteous are blessed. You know, it says that many, many times. Yep. And it's just true. Like, I think it's just true. And I believe that that's because God's a giver, you know? Mm-hmm. And so for me, like, man, like what a perception of God that paints in my mind to believe that way. You know, I feel unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that that's the nature of God. And I don't feel like I have the shackles of bad theology on me to keep me weighted down, you know, because like what you believe about God and his nature really shapes a lot about who you are in your life, you know? Yeah. And,
well, it's part of faith. That's part of the faith journey.
Yeah.
If you're not believing what he says he's going to do, if you're not believing his nature, you're not having faith in him, and you're not able to take steps that align with that faith and align with the will of God either. You're not even able to hear from God, and you're not even able to discern when he's talking to you, how he's talking to you, if he's talking to you. And that can be like detrimental to you.
Sure.
For sure. Yeah. There's something that you mentioned a little bit ago that I want to hit.
Sure.
And we may have already talked a little bit about it, but specifically you mentioned when you were stepping away from leading worship and you were stepping into what you're doing now, it was because you noticed that there was a spark that you had. There was this joy that you were getting from what you're doing now that you weren't getting leading worship. And I just want you to talk a little bit about that specifically, because to many people that maybe contradicts what they believe is like doing something for the Lord, because you were leading worship. That's like, as a musician, that is the epitome of serving the Lord with your gift. But you were saying that you had a spark of joy and of other things that led you out of that into what you're doing now, into a different type of ministry that wasn't necessarily a part of the church. So I just want to hear more of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you know, I think people who would think that like serving God has to look like well, first of all, like leading worship's not even one of the ministry gifts in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? We treat it like it is one, but it's not even one of them. And, but to think that leading worship is like the epitome of, you know, serving God is just not in my opinion, it's kind of a small-minded way of thinking, because I just believe, to reiterate, I believe there's so many ways you can serve God, and that's absolutely necessary. You know, the people that are in a church and going to be in a church are the people that are in a church and going to be in a church, and it's nothing more and it's nothing less. All the other people, however, who aren't in the church and aren't going to the church, all those people need to be reached. And all of those people, like, people are not all exactly the same. We're all very similar, but everyone has their different backgrounds or different things they go through. And there's only certain people that are going to be able to speak to those people. And I've always thought in my head, I'm like, man, how influential would it be for like some of these superstars in the world to speak about their faith and live according to it? Like, oh my gosh, that would change so many people. Because to me, it's like, a lot of
You're
people
already seeing a little bit of it in the athlete world right now. Actually, there's a little bit of a surgence going on.
But you know, a lot of people listen to my music because they need comfort over a situation they're going through. That what a perfect gateway to be able to teach them about my comforter. You know what I'm saying? Like, what a perfect. Not to. I hate just using random spiritual lingo like so much, but like, it's true. I'm like, what? Like, people run to music a lot for comfort over a situation or a feeling that they're going through. And it's my job right now to create that music that people can run to and people can enjoy and they can resonate with and they can use as, I'm going through this and this song resonates with me and it makes me feel good. And for them to understand my message behind behind me and what I do and where I get my joy from and where I get my everything from, that's so powerful. And you aren't going to do that as a worship leader. You're going to do that for the people that you're going to do that for on the pulpit, leading worship on a Sunday morning. You know what I'm saying? It's not at all the same thing as somebody listening to a song that they resonate with because it's talking about their breakup or whatever, and then them hearing God through that avenue. And it's the same thing. Like, churches will do freaking backflips and all kinds of things, do these outreach events.
Sometimes
they'll do all these kind of outreach events that aren't Christian, that are secular. They'll go to main event. They'll freaking have the circus come through. They'll have a band. They'll do all these. They'll throw a festival. They'll do a
Santa
potluck
from the ceiling.
You know what I'm saying? They'll do.
You see that one?
Yeah, I have.
You ever see that?
But they will do all of these things to try to get people who wouldn't regularly go to church to come to church and hear about God. Yet the same people will demonize people doing the same thing in their field. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm doing the same thing y'all are freaking doing. To get y'all want more people to come.
You're not affiliated with the church, and that's the thing.
It doesn't matter. Well, yes, I am.
No, I know it doesn't matter.
Well, yes, I am. Well, I am affiliated with. Yes, I'm not. They're not.
But from the outside,
getting the tithe money from my people receiving Jesus. Yes, absolutely. And I don't want to get into all that necessarily.
No, we don't. I'm just saying,
some churches, of course, have corruption, and and a lot don't as well. I've been a part of beautiful and non-beautiful
for sure.
But exactly, it's like people like me will get demonized for doing the same freaking thing that they're doing. Only we don't have a direct church affiliation other than what the church actually is, which is a body of people.
Amen.
You know, it's just people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I'm talking about God and there's 20 unsaved people who are like saying, wow, that speaks to me or whatever, or they give their life to Christ, it leads them to go to a church or whatever. It's like, that's the freaking church, man. It's the body of Christ. I am a part of the body of Christ. You know, it's like that classic scripture. It's, you know, eye isn't going to tell a hand, I don't need you, hand. Like, what sense does that make? Or a hand's not going to tell the eye, I don't need you, eye. But we need all of it. We need all of it, dude. And so like, whatever, I mean, hopefully I'm like the pronator, which is like a arm wrestling muscle, but it's like whatever part of the body I am, it is my purpose right now to play that part as well as I can, you know? And that's something that you're constant. I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? I make mistakes. I don't do everything right, but I'm trying to do everything right. You know what I'm saying? And and while I'm doing it, I'm living in peace. I'm living in joy, and I'm living in I'm living in the blessing that God has made available.
The grace that he gave you.
The grace that he gave me. And it's a wonderful life, man. It's a wonderful life. Really so many times. And how many people can even say that these days? How many people can say that they're enjoying life or they're having a good life or they like their life? So many people can't say that right now. So there's testimony even in that I walk outside and I'm like breathing the fresh air and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the amount of times I've told God, thank you that I'm alive, you know, this year, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Like every day I'm like,
Gratitude breeds joy.
I don't say it because I'm used to saying it every day. Like I literally have all these moments where I'm just so thankful to be alive, you know, and people are trapped in a world where they do not feel that at all. And so there's testimony even in that. But
well, the testimony, the testimony comes from the grace and the mercy that he gives you and the realization that you have of that. And that makes you fall to your knees so that you're in a place where you realize that you don't deserve any of it. And that's what makes you thankful. But I think a lot of us, me at many times, like we get to the point where, or we're at the point where we are always thinking that we deserve at least something. We're like, oh, well, I deserve that because I did this and I did that right and I treated them right. And like, so I deserve like at least like a little bit. Like I deserve that praise. Come on, like clap for me a little bit, you know? But it's not like that. And the reality of realizing what God did for you and why he did it for you, if we were able to, in any capacity, work our way to heaven, he would not have sent his son. Because there would be, even if it was a small way, a small chance of us doing it, that would be the way. Like it would be a narrow way, and it is a narrow way, right? But he realized that there's absolutely no way that any human on earth can do that and can accomplish it. And so he sent his son. So realizing that is what brings you to that point. Because then you're humbled over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I break it down even further, you know, like for me, and what you said is 100% true. Mm-hmm. For me, whenever I think about this, you know, I just got this tattoo that says 1M on it, you know, and me and the guy helping us film this whole podcast, one of my homies, and a lot of my homies, we just went on a cruise to celebrate me crossing this milestone of getting 1 million monthly listeners. Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I think I still said that in the beginning.
Thank you very much. And looking back over my career up to this point, and whenever I see this tattoo and I'm reminded of this victory in life, you know, getting to reach this goal that I didn't know if I ever would be able to, here's what I see. I see someone who is very dedicated. I see a ton of hard work, and I say, thank you, God, because who gave me the brain that I have, who gave me the hands that I have, who gave me the parents that I had, who believed in me, who gave me the work ethic. I remember learning work ethic. I didn't learn it from, I didn't learn it from TD Jakes. I didn't learn it from all these, famous speakers or whatever. Now I learn more from them, but like my initial learning any sort of work ethic came from Proverbs. A slack hand leads to poverty. The hand of the diligent is richly supplied. Little sleep, a little slumber, little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you. I read these scriptures before anything, and they taught me about work ethic. And so whenever I look back over my career, me realizing the amount of effort that I've put in is not rooted in pride, and it does not take away from God. It adds to it. Wow, God, you gave me the gift to be able to be that hardworking individual. You supplied me with all I needed that whole time. Yeah. You gave me food to eat. You gave me the brain I have. You gave me, like I said, the family I have, the friends that I have. You gave me. And so to me, it's additive. Whenever you give the glory to God, all the efforts that you put in your flesh is additive because he gave me this opportunity, So that's just how I think about it, And like for me, absolutely, I'm thankful for his mercy. I'm thankful every day that I was saved from a lifestyle of sin, And for me, I grew up in a Christian home, and I have absolutely had struggles, and I have struggled with things that many people in the world struggle with. And at the same time, I've had many things that I haven't struggled with, and many things that that were never a part of my life. Some traumas, some experiences that were never part of my life because of the way that I was raised, because of the gift of God and the favor of God and the blessing and the mercy of God on my life, the mercy of God. And so I'm thankful for that. But I don't limit my gratitude to just his mercy. It's everything, you know what I'm saying? Anything good, because every good and perfect gift comes from the Father. Everything good that happens in my life, I know for certain that is from God, you know? And I not just like, I think that it's from God. I know that it's from God, man. Like, and I know not everybody, very few people have the same situation that I have and have the same upbringing and have the same privileges that I've had. And here's what I can say about this. And it goes to a theological level for me, and people disagree, people agree, but ultimately everything good that happens in your life, I believe comes from God, and everything bad that comes from your life, I believe comes from sin one way or another. Not maybe someone's personal sin, but it's a byproduct of brokenness. It's a byproduct of brokenness in the world. And so like if someone comes from a broken home and a terrible life, that doesn't mean that God was like, oh, I just don't have favor on you. It means that the world started in this place of perfection in the Garden of Eden. There was plenty of trees. There was more to eat from than they could ever eat, right? We started from this place of perfection. God, where I don't know if all the angels are in heaven, but this place that God has made heaven that's absent of sin. It's a perfect place. So we started from this place of perfection, and sin comes, and what it does is it separates us from that perfection, and it rots away at this perfect thing that God made. So it doesn't mean that there's no good in the world. It doesn't mean that there's a complete lack of goodness. It just means the goodness that is left there is a reminder of God's goodness. So I can even look
and the Holy Spirit dwells here, right? So, but I mean, God is present, and so where God is present, there can't be complete and total darkness.
Yeah, absolutely. But even like from a physical standpoint, like the world started off perfect when God made it. It started off perfect. So there are beautiful things about the world. There are beautiful things about life. And those beautiful things is a glimpse of perfection that God inspired and God created and God wrote into time and wrote into history. And so to me, though there be lots of darkness, anything good that happens from my life, I'm like, dude, and good things that happen in other people's life. It's like, wow, what a reflection of God's goodness, you know, what a reflection of the thing that he intended for us to have, this little glimpse of hope, comfort, of joy that I'm experiencing. It all that like God intended for me to live in that constantly. But the fact that I get to have that right now is just a reflection of the remaining goodness that's in the world, that's in my heart via the Holy Spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like, with a lot of things, I kind of like try to take things a step further and like, really, I think that there's so much more to be appreciated about God in life than people think of, you know what I'm saying? And like, I think if people would open their minds to how great God is, and like, not just like great, like God, you're huge. Like, yes, God, you're huge and you're massive and you're everywhere and you know what I'm saying? Like that's great and you're all powerful. Not just great like that, but it's like, God, you are great in the sense of like, you are the best thing I know about. You know, you are so good. Like, just like
down to a personal level,
just like a laugh I had with a group of friends, like, God, you made that, you know what I'm saying? And like, because it's good, man, like he gave that, you know, like this is just a glimpse of what God like wanted us to have all the time. And there's so much goodness in life, man. And I'm not a pessimist, you know, when it comes down to it, I'm not a pessimist, and I see so much good, you know?
What would you say to people though, who come from the perspective that, you know, relationship with God and really realizing all these things comes from only being weak as a human and not able to work through things yourself?
Well, have you ever tried to do anything out? I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, go try to live your life absent of God and see if that's something that you want to continue to do. I think it's very obvious. It's very obvious to me what happens.
It's very obvious to me too.
It's very obvious.
There's a lot of people out there that do have success and they do things and and they're living a great and thankful life, and they're just like, I don't need a in their eyes, I don't need a Jesus, I don't need an all-knowing, all-powerful God. I can trust in like my own intuition, and I can connect with things and other people and like gain perspective and like have this same thankfulness that breeds from there.
Yes, I get what you're saying. I call BS on it. honestly do.
Why?
Because, well, I think we can just look at information, people who would be in that position of I'm fulfilled outside of God. Maybe if we look at rich, successful people, some of the highest percentage likeliness of suicide, in that people group. And I've seen so many people just throughout life and, even friends and whatever it may be, that walk away from God and claim that they're doing great and they don't need him, they're self-sufficient, and then end up living a terrible life, self-admittedly terrible life. And on the same time, success isn't just for people who follow God. I believe in this thing called spiritual law. The Bible says that whenever God was making the universe, that the Holy Spirit, the spirit of wisdom, was actually the fabric that he made the universe with. It says this in Proverbs. And that's very interesting to me, because what that shows me is the proverbial texts and the wisdom literature in the Bible. If that's the foundation of what the world's made out of, it means that God's will, absolute, and just God's nature of being all-knowing, his will is predetermined, right? And spiritual law is predetermined. So, for example, if I read the scripture in the Bible that says a slack hand leads to poverty, I don't have to be a Christian and be lazy and that lead to poverty. I don't have to be a Christian to end up getting in poverty because of my slack hand. You know what I'm saying?
You don't have to test the theory.
You don't have to be. Yeah. You don't have to be a Christian to enjoy the benefits of the things that wisdom has to offer. So if someone works real hard and they become real good at what they're doing, and they have monetary success, well, that's just a spiritual law. It's just like how gravity works, right? Gravity's like, okay, for Christians, I'm going to let you like fly for one day out of the week. And then for all the non-Christians, because God made me, you just get to, you're just freaking stuck to the ground all the time. Like, that's not how gravity works. And God's no respecter of persons. Like,
I wish I was Peter Pan.
Yeah. It's like, but, it's just like how gravity works, and everything physical, it's a reflection of what's spiritual, and just how gravity works the same way for all of us, spiritual law works the same way for all of us. Seed time and harvest works for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not. Now, there are existential and intrinsic benefits that you will not receive, obviously, if you're not a Christian. And there is a lack of hope that's built into people without God that I believe is in everybody that does not have God. I believe that. And I call everyone's BS. I call out everyone's BS. I believe that people that appear to be okay without God in their life have an inner conflict that they do not talk about, because I've seen it come out so many times. And I think it comes out too many times, and too many people are not sufficient without God for me to think that there's just a whole ton of people who act like they are. And I just think they really aren't. I just would call BS on that. But I think that if we're talking about
there's like outliers.
I don't think anyone can live the greatest life possible without God. I think even Christians, they're not living to their fullest potential with God. I believe the end game for living a lifestyle according to God's plan is always going to trump the end game of living without his plan. I believe there's so much wisdom and there's so many things that you can learn about and you can implement in your life outside of believing that God is real that can cause positive feelings and joy and peace and all these things. But I believe that the end game for that is never at the same level of walking out a relationship with Jesus. I mean, speaking from obviously in our belief system, it's like, I don't believe that those people will be in heaven, and that may not be something that they're thinking about right now, but I believe that that's a part of the Christian faith, is that believing in God, when you die, you will go to heaven, that there is a hope of an afterlife and these kind of things. But it just, you know what I'm saying? Like, the end game for living a life outside of God, it's very few and far between that it compares at all to living a life with God. And at the same time, there are a lot of Christians who aren't really living to their fullest potential with God, and so they suffer all the time.
Yeah. They're not continually surrendering their will in their life to Jesus. And there's a difference too, obviously, between like different religions as well across the world and Jesus. I
think here's the thing, right? Because there are religions that I believe acknowledge God and acknowledge that there is a higher being than themselves that people will worship, and they'll receive benefits from practicing that simply because a need for God is built into all people. And so whether you believe in the God, which for outsiders' perspective is the Christian God. You know, I believe you can believe in a God and you can receive some of the benefits of worshiping a God that is built into our biology. Absolutely, I believe that. But once again, the end game with God is so much greater. The Christian God, which is just the God. You know, it's weird saying the Christian God, but like the end game with God is so much greater than any of these false gods. Absolutely.
For sure. No, I like that you clarified that too, because I think it really is important when thinking about these things. It's not something that you can just blanket statement, God, higher power, just like we are personal beings, he is a personal being. And so to just be like, like God is God, everybody has a different idea of him, but it's all the same. We're all going somewhere, you know, that's counterintuitive to the nature of God and who he is and the person that he is and the being that he is and the way that he loves, you know.
Yeah, and
the generality can't love.
When you're young, and all these things we're talking about are so contextual per person, you know, like I'd have to be sitting across from the person who's claiming to have, you know, this incredible life outside of a set in stone moral code. That's even the thing, right? Because now here's what's happening in New Age. It's like, okay, I'm going to live by all the principles of the Bible except for believing in God. It's like, so you just think this book randomly got everything right about how you're supposed to live life, and there's no sort of spiritual connotation to that.
None.
That's what's crazy, right? And so it's all very contextual. Like, you know, it's very interesting person to person, but I would be willing to go toe to toe with anybody. And like, if I could somehow see people's hearts like God, I'm sure that would reveal so much bullcrap that people claim. But what I was saying is whenever you're young, it's a lot easier to live without God because you have so much of your life ahead of you. And there's hope in being youthful. And the hope being that, you know, somehow one day either you're not going to die or you're going to figure it out later or whatever. As you get older, however, that hope starts to wane and the impending doom of death starts to weigh on you, and you start to have a higher need to explore why you're alive than when you were younger. Yeah. And so a lot of the people claiming these things that they're great without God or a moral code or whatever it might be, or with a moral code and without God, it will get to them at some point. We're built for purpose. Yeah, we're built for purpose, and it will torment people to no end at some point if they don't understand the meaning behind why they're here.
No, I'm glad you said that. You know, that's the essence of what we try to talk about on this podcast and the way that we aim to encourage people, because there is a purpose. There's a designed purpose for your life. There is a way that God designed you specifically to have an impact on the people around you and the people in the world. And on everything else around you. And I think it's imperative for us to realize that, identify it. And the way to identify that is living according to God's plan for your life. It's growing a personal relationship, a deep personal relationship with Jesus by reading the word, by praying, by seeking community that is trying to do the same and seeking understanding of, you know, what that looks like. And then when you identify it, run towards it. Like or the biggest compass in my life. I told you this the other night in the hot tub. Biggest compass for me in my life is like physical, like mental, like uncomfortability, being pushed past my limits that I already know, accompanied with the peace of the Lord. And when I see that or I notice that and I feel that, it's like, okay, I'm going that way because I know that's where God is calling me to go, because he calls us to grow, to be uncomfortable. And he gives us opportunities to do so. And so if I'm given an opportunity to do that, to step out in faith, whether that's a big move, whether that's a new opportunity, or whether that's going to a friend who I hurt because I know I hurt them and having a conversation and coming to them on my knees, essentially, sometimes literally, and begging for forgiveness and trying to mend that situation, because I know that's what God would do. That is in alignment with who God is. And it's so uncomfortable to do that, but also the peace of the Lord is like with me. Whatever it is, I know I need to run towards that, you know? And I think that's just so important for us to identify in our lives. So I appreciate you running through that, because I don't know, I think it's something we all need to hear.
Yeah, so, absolutely, man. I think like Man, like this is not a lot compared to what other people do, but I did like a 3-day fast, just water fast at the beginning of the year. And I learned so much. I know it sounds crazy that I could learn anything in 3 days, but like, I feel like I feel like I had a revelation about life, several revelations about life that were pretty big. And that revelation was whenever I'm not eating, whenever I'm going down, whenever I don't have food, I'm starving myself. And when you're starving, everything that you used to be able to hide behind, or all the things that seem to make life so much bigger, like all the screens, all the work you could do, the plans for the future, just like I was thinking about how connected to my phone I always feel, you know, like I always something about being connected to the phone and the world wide web makes you feel like it gives us grandiosity to life, and it gives us grandiosity to so many things. And we can get lost in the sauce of everything happening in life and in Hollywood and in the world. But when you're starving, whenever you need that basic bodily thing, you need food, all of that goes away. It's so interesting. Like, and this was not something that I consciously ever thought of. I've never thought of how connected I feel and how safe I feel inside my environment with my computer and my screens and all the movies you can watch and all the things you can do with friends and whatnot, until I was starving. And when I was starving, I was like, oh my gosh, like I need food. And somehow, for some reason, like whenever I felt that way, I was like, all there is to life is food, is water, and is God. Like somehow, like that was the revelation I got out of it. All these things, like I would try to watch a TV show to get me through these 3 days. Like I said, this is peanuts compared to what other people do. But like TV did not help. I did not care about the TV. I did not care about the phone. I did not care about the song I was working on. I wanted food.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting how everything in life got so narrowed down to me whenever I took away food, you know? And all I'm saying by that is we can get lost in the sauce of life. We can get lost in the parties. We can get lost in the drinks. We can get lost in the films and the entertainment and all the options we have every single day. But at the end of the day, life's really freaking simple. It's like we need food. We're human beings who need food, who need water, and who need a purpose. And everyone's looking for a purpose. Every single human, nobody in the history of the earth who has lived has not thought, what's my purpose? Or what's the meaning for being here ever? And I believe that Christianity not only offers a solution to those problems, but it just is the solution. Like in my observation, man, like I've gone down the apologetic rabbit hole, you know, and I just believe that the best chance that there is of there being God is the Christian God. I'm sorry. I really do believe that. And there's too many things that point towards that. There's too many things that the world and the design of humans, it's just everything's a bit too perfect. And on the atheistic worldview, everything's a bit too ambiguous as to why everything is the way that it is. And I just really believe that life's very simple, that we need food, we need water, and we need God. We need purpose.
I agree.
You know,
I agree. Let's switch gears here a little bit.
Let's do it, man.
Let's talk about music and business.
Let's do it.
How do you make money in music as a business? How does that work? How does the whole process work?
Nicholas Donovan, y'all might know him as Nick D, said this on something. He said this and I heard it probably on social media. And he said each song you put out is like an employee. And he was saying, if you're trying to build a business off of music, he's like, I'm not trying to be the needle in the haystack. Like my first song I ever put out, it just blew up and so hopped on it with me. And then that's my career now, is I had a hit song immediately. He's like, that's not going to be almost everybody ever that takes a stab at music. He's like, but if I think about music from a business perspective, I'm going to have as many employees as I possibly can have. So I'm going to put out as many songs as I can. I'm going to hire the best employees possible, which would be making the best songs. And so I think that's the most simple, most effective way to build a music career, is put out a lot of music, always focus the most on how good the songs are and how much music you're putting out. And Same thing with content too. Each little piece of content you put out, even if it flops, if that's another little employee out there collecting a fan or two, and that builds up over time. And so if you're trying to be successful at music, put out a lot of freaking songs, put out a lot of freaking content.
Consistency.
And stay consistent. Treat it like a daggum business. You don't close in December if you're a business. December was my biggest month ever. It was. And because
who's your biggest employee?
Who's my biggest employee right now? My biggest employee is probably Look Mom.
Translation. What's your highest grossing song?
Highest grossing song. There's a huge delay, so like all the new stuff will end up overshadowing the things of the past. Yeah. But right now, I think my highest grossing song may still be this song called Hypothetically. But that's just because it's been out.
That song.
It's been out the longest. You know what I'm saying? So it's collected the most over time.
Yeah. Can you say how much?
Yes, I could say how much.
I didn't say could you. I said can you? Do you want to?
I mean, sure. I mean, I think it would probably be like somewhat relatable, but
or just an estimate. You don't have to go.
Yeah, specific. I mean, on Hypothetically, I think I made somewhere around like.
Yeah, hypothetically, how much? Did you
hypothetically, I made somewhere around like 18-ish grand off of that one song.
Wow.
Yeah. Hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically, that's yeah.
Hypothetically, yeah. There's actually a really good amount of money, and to other people that'd be peanuts. But my career has been built off of putting out a lot of songs, and so it's so interesting. I was just talking to my buddy about this the other day. Like
they all build up. They all
not to like beat the freaking dead horse. All my friends are probably sick and tired of hearing about it, but like crossing 1 million monthly listeners is definitely a big goal that a lot of artists have. A lot of artists never get to, and it puts you at a certain spot, and it just has a certain look to it and a certain level of accomplishment, whenever you get there. And most people who've gotten there, their top songs are a lot bigger than my top songs, and they've put out a lot less music than me, generally speaking. For me, I take pride in that because all of my catalog is like very close to each other. You know what I'm saying? So like song 1 to song 2 is not this big gap in streams. Song 2 to song 3, there's not this big gap going all the way down. It's like a very even waterfall going down to my least played songs, which I love because I'm not a one-hit wonder. I'm the product of consistency and hard work over time. And I like that because it's inspirational to anybody who loves doing music and they'd love to do that as a career. If you're consistent, you put out a lot of music over time, you can make a career out of it just like me. You know what I'm saying? But it's really true. The only problem...
It'll make your concerts a lot more fun.
Oh, yeah. Like
everybody's going to know every song.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. Like your fan base that will pull up for that kind of catalog is sick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like...
a tight community, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. And I think everybody would want this. I would much rather my flops I would much rather have a consistent amount of like streams on songs than to just randomly have one that went like crazy viral. It's all about consistency. Everyone's obsessed with consistency. Like it's not about the post you made yesterday. It's about the post you made today, which is it's a mind F for like a lot of content creators out there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's difficult to keep up with, but like I want all my songs to perform similarly and go up over time. Yeah. Like that's really what I want. I think that's what every artist would want. Every artist wants every song they put out to be the next hit. But if over time you cultivate the kind of audience that is just slowly growing and to the point where every song you put out is somewhat of a hit, or somewhat of like, gets a good amount of streams on the first week of putting it out, like that's a way cooler number than like just having one song that just sits up at the top.
Yeah. Well, and to add to that, the fact that you're building this large catalog, such a large catalog, you have a goal of maybe making the most songs ever for a single artist.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some guy who's like putting out like 20-second sound bits of like clown noises, but like I think
true musicians, true songs, true
in the world of like, I would say some like the world of artists that are making music at a high level that people are listening to, I want to have the most songs. I think that'd be very cool. And I think like roughly speaking, I would want to have the most songs out of anybody in the top, maybe 5,000 artists in the world.
Yeah. I think it's doable. I think you're on track.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, in doing so, the fact that you're being consistent and consistently good, like you're building a catalog of songs that are getting streams because people are continuously listening to them. They're connecting with them, relating to them. And that's just going to set you up more and more so down the road. And as of now, being completely independent, like you were saying earlier off camera, that's all you. Like, you don't share that with anybody at this point. And so you're able to reap the benefits of your hard work 100%.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. And if the kind of the crux of what I'm saying, or like the important thing to understand about what I'm saying, is that doing this independently is probably what's going to be your best success at making a career, which is crazy to think, because most people think you got to be signed or whatever.
Well, we live in a wild opportunistic world. You can do that now because of social media, because of the internet, you know. It's
social media has blown the roof off of what you could previously do, and that's wonderful. But if you're signed to, and you know, labels have gotten a lot better. There's a lot more options.
Do you see yourself signing at all to something?
I mean, maybe. Yeah,
in
depends
what world
on the deal.
would you sign something?
It would be a deal where someone's offering me a ridiculously absurd amount of money.
How ridiculous?
To sign,
hypothetically,
cosmetologically speaking, that number may always change. I'll say like this:
inflation will always change.
A person I know in the independent world who's probably, I'd say, a good 4 to 5 times bigger than I am, turned down a $15 million deal for a catalog sale.
Wow, everything turned
it down.
Yeah,
15 million is a lot of money. Yeah, and I would say that I think similarly to that guy, probably.
So around that number or more, essentially.
Maybe. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if I would trust myself if somebody was like, you know, here's, you know, a certain amount for your, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I will say this.
Especially with your big catalog, how big it is, that's a big ask to basically be like, yeah, I have every song I've ever written, you know, some are closer to your heart than others.
Career,
it's like your whole career.
I think like 7 to 8 digits really would make anybody kind of like reevaluate, you know, especially whenever
you're talking about like living life with not only the freedom that God gives you, but then being able to, you know, take that money, take those resources, and then continue to cultivate the kingdom of the Lord with that, and continue to live a life where you're able to bless people and able to have freedom, time to be able to do even more. Yeah, and 10 million, like once you pay the taxes, like, you know, 7 million, you could live for 100 years off of like a decent, like, you know, 70K income per year, you know, for 100 years, you know what I'm saying? And so I think anytime, dude, I was freaking born in an actual trailer. Like, that was the first house we like lived in, you know what I'm saying? I'm freaking redneck. I'm trailer park trailer, not a
trailer
not
park.
A camper trailer.
Yes, trailer park trailer. Yes, and that was the house as well. And that was, and so, you know, I don't know what exactly I would reevaluate at, but I would say like somewhere, like anywhere like around those 8 digits at this exact moment, I'm like, I might just be like, I'll do something else now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm sure it all depends on life circumstances, getting a wife.
Oh yeah, for sure. But at the same time, cash flow is super fun. Cause like, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Like, if I got an opportunity to sign a deal that's like, if like for me, it'd be like a catalog sale. It's like, if I'm signing an artist deal for a ton of money, it's like, I'm just going to keep having to work as hard as I'm already working. The only thing that a ton of money would make me want to do is work less. So like, if there was a catalog sale, like we'll buy your whole catalog for X amount, there's a chance that I would be like, dude, maybe I'll just do that and then just start a different artist project and just vibe or whatever. You know, I don't know what the terms of the everything would be, but like, there's so many things you could do. But at the same time, if you sell your brand, you sell your, you know, if you sell your music catalog, there is something built into every human where you want to like remain relevant in life. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be some guy who just vanish all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anyone really enjoys that. So I think if I did sign a deal like that and got out of the game, like, I would probably at some point regret it, maybe. But honestly, if that bridge comes, man, I'll cross it when I get there. You know what I'm saying? But no one's got me the 8 digits quite yet. But you could be the first one. No, I'm just kidding.
Hypothetically,
cosmetologically, and that's for for a full catalog sale or full artist deal. You know, there are different things lingering that I've like, you know, considered. But
for sure,
yeah.
You dating anybody?
No, dude. I've
single?
never been in a relationship.
Never.
No,
Really?
I've never been. It's so.
But you write so many love songs.
So sad, dude.
You write so many.
A lot of those things are
songs, dude.
observational, you know, and some
Okay.
things like are.
You are an observational person.
like
That's what I was going to tell you earlier. Full circle.
I'm observational.
No, not just that, but that's one of the first things I noticed about you, because I am also a people watcher and observational,
Well,
but not just
bro.
people watching, but you notice.
Noticers unite. We notice things, bro.
You
Like,
notice.
I
things.
noticed. Like when I met you, bro, I noticed that you were there.
I was there. That's crazy.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
That's
bro?
wild,
Yeah,
dude.
I knew you were, dude.
I didn't even know I was there.
That's pretty crazy. I know you're shooketh right now at the revelation of that. But what the
Hashtag
heck were we
shooketh.
talking about?
Trend
Oh yeah,
now.
being observant. Oh yeah, writing songs. Yeah, I got back there, bro. I definitely have my hiccups, but hopefully over time I get better at not losing my train of thought. But
We were talking about dating and writing love songs, and
Right.
you just said you're observant because you watch people fall in love, and you never fall in love, but then you write songs about
I would
other people.
freaking
falling in
love to
and-
fall in love, dude. Like that would be so cool. But a lot of my songs, though, like they are real situations. Like I've
They
definitely
feel real. That's why
Well,
I thought
I've
I was
definitely,
like,
like,
wait, you've
broken
never
some-
been in.
like I'll say like
That's crazy.
I've talked to people, like I've been out on dates, like I've confessed some level of feelings to people before, you know what I'm
There you
saying?
go.
And they've
Put yourself
confessed
out
feelings
there.
to me or whatever, you know, though it be
Spicy.
short lived, but like one
Like,
thing
for
I've
2
learned
seconds.
one thing I've learned from is like I did for a second, like there was a few people's hearts are very unintentionally like shattered, you know what I'm saying? And like I've had my heart shattered, like I've had my big fair share of
Same.
rejection, like lots of rejection as well. So I'm not saying that I'm alienated whatsoever,
Yeah,
but I
same.
also
2 weeks
have
ago.
unfortunately crushed a couple hearts in my happenings. And one of those
Because you're a catch, dude.
oh thank you, dude. But like one of those songs was The Villain. So that was a dead honest story where I'm just like, I felt horrible that I hurt somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like I didn't mean to. And I thought like it's one of the things like I thought I did everything right.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes even if you do everything right, it's like if the other person like really
It's all
like has
about
feelings towards you,
It's all
like
about perspective anyway.
yeah, but like if someone really has feelings towards you, like it doesn't matter if you do everything right. Sometimes it just kind of really sucks. And I know what that feeling is because I've been in that same position. And but yeah, that song was authentic. I was like, yeah, like I broke your heart. I left it in pieces. Now you're in the dark and I'm the reason it's been so hard looking in the mirror. Because when I do, it's all clear that the only villain here is me, you know, that I'm the villain or whatever. So I freaking hate when artists recite their lyrics. So I try to do it very fast.
Yeah.
Maybe no one would notice, but
Well, I was gonna have you sing one actually.
I broke your heart. Sorry, it's just too real to me. But yeah, dude.
Played that live. That was sick though.
So
That was
a
one
lot
my
of
favorite songs live.
Huh? You didn't play it live? Sorry, bro. I'm an interrupter. I'm a talker over, and I apologize.
No, bro. I said when you played that live.
That's just
sick.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Chill. All right, podcast done. Later.
My bad. Sorry. I'm
No,
done.
I'm just kidding, bro. When you played that live, it was dope. It was one of my favorite.
Thank you,
live.
bro.
Yeah.
I accidentally messed up at the end, but it's okay.
No one
I like
noticed.
messed up at
I
the
mean, I noticed, but nobody else noticed.
yeah, well, sure. You know, that's what they all say, right?
Yeah.
Everyone will tell you that they noticed, but that no one else probably noticed. But
Yeah.
they'll all say that. I'm like, I feel great about it.
So-
And I was wearing your sunglasses, which just I'm trying to get those exact same sunglasses because
We'll find you a pair.
they gave me power.
They did,
And I
They're
love
superpower.
and like, you know, just to reiterate, I love playing all those little power games all the time.
all the
And-
power
no, I'm
games.
just
Yeah.
kidding.
It was a different kind of power.
But
Confidence. versus
nowadays with my songwriting, I'm probably never writing about anything that is not personal. Like for a while I did. I was just like, I had these ideas, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But no, not now.
Yeah.
Not now.
No. Well, you just came out with a song that is about, like, we were talking about genuineness earlier,
Oh
actually.
yeah, that one was fake. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What was it called now?
Oh,
About
the
being
one
genuine
that,
and-
it's okay. The one I'm working on right now,
Yeah.
which is probably
technically
out
will
right
be
now.
out when we're that's
it's
why I
probably,
use that
I'm working on
language.
it's not
You're
done.
working on it. We'll be real. You're working on it right
Being
now.
authentic, yeah.
When this releases,
Oh yeah.
it will
This
most
one,
likely be out.
It'll most likely it will.
Yeah, it will be
Especially
out.
if this comes out in 2 weeks, it'll be out.
It'll be out.
It'll be out.
But that one, you showed it to me, and it was about being authentic, being real.
Oh, yeah,
Especially when it comes to your faith as well.
Exactly. And the song is very intentionally kind of describing that war with sin or whatever, the song goes, I'd rather wrestle with the devil than pretend that I'm a saint, meaning I would and then the end of it says, I'd rather you see me go through hell than pretend that I'm okay. And the whole point of the song is I would rather just be myself all the time, and you see me for all the good, the bad, the struggles, because in the middle it says the same heart that's filled with love is the same heart that burns with hate, meaning like the duality of every person. Like we have our good moments, we have our bad moments. I'd rather just be myself all the time and wear that stuff on my sleeve than pretend that I'm not, because I'm just a human, and I would rather be truthful. I would rather like everyone know like, okay, he's a bit of a mess right now than be a liar. And that's like literally, that's exactly like, it's just the actual words of the song. But like, it's one of them ones that's like that one, whenever I thought of that first part was like, yes, this is what I need to write about. This is very authentic to me right now, because here's the thing, right? This brings me a lot of peace. Life at this point, especially being a youngish person, like life is long, man. And if
almost
you've got
25, right?
Almost 25.
Let's
and
go.
If almost in my mid 20s. And if, life's freaking long, dude. And if you have problems, there is time to fix those things.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm one of them people who I'm always trying to self-improve. And sometimes I just get caught up in all the negative facets of myself. And it brings me great peace to think that it's okay to not be perfect, and that we're on a journey to become that perfect person. As Jesus said, be perfect, therefore I'm perfect. That's a journey, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if we ever get to 100% on earth, but we can definitely get really freaking close, man. I really do believe that. I do believe you can live a life without sin that's fully connected to God. I really do believe that. And maybe I'm wrong, but I really do believe it. And
clarify, not perfect, right?
I think, well, Jesus, here's the thing, right? And I don't mean to be like, to ruffle feathers or anything, but like,
no, I want to hear your heart on it, but I just want to clarify for
when Jesus says be perfect, therefore I am perfect, and that our flesh has been co-crucified with Christ, I see a calling to perfection that I think might be possible. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying, like, I believe that I could get to a place in life where I live a life completely absent of sin. You know what I'm saying?
And how do you do that though?
Well, you just don't sin. I mean, that'd be.
Well, I know that, but how
you take it one day at a time, and I'm not saying I'm that by any means.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, keep using that word.
And this sounds like, to some people, this will sound insane, but like I was talking to my dad the other day.
Well, I think details are important when talking about something like this too,
Sure,
because people generalize stuff all the time.
Sure, so I'm not saying that in my flesh I could ever be perfect, but I believe that Christ in me is perfect, and so if I can die to flesh enough, very logically you should be able to live out of the abundance of Jesus on the inside of you, which is perfect, which would make you, and it was Jesus said, be perfect, therefore I'm perfect. And
in my mind, that perfection happens when we are completely renewed in Christ, like after death in heaven. Because I think on earth there's still that, even like you're saying, it's like you said at first, that's why I asked the question, because you said at first you could get close but not fully perfect.
Well, maybe. I'm not saying
I'm saying that you don't know.
I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying I think there's a good chance that you could. Here's what I believe, right? I believe that you can get to the point where you can wake up in the morning and you can go to sleep at night and you did not sin at all that day. I do believe that. And in fact, I was talking to my dad one day, and I was like, this is going to sound crazy. I was like, but I don't think I sinned today. I'm like, I didn't act on any sinful desire. I didn't really have any lustful thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say like, oh, I'm freaking great or whatever. But like, I'm like, I believe that this is something that Christ is calling us into. And so whether that can be sustained or you can do that perfectly over time, like, I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying like, we should all definitely be trying to be that and not assume that we can't, because that is what Jesus said, and so, I think it might be possible.
It doesn't give us like basically the ability to just be like, oh, well, if I'm not going to be perfect, then I'm not going to try to be perfect anyway.
Well, that's what most people are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's this whole idea that if I if I have the knowledge that I can't be perfect,
Right.
I'm going to, I'm just not going to care about pursuing the righteousness of God.
Exactly.
I'm just going to like kind of leave it lukewarm. And I agree with that saying, because in that sense, you're in this middle ground, this lukewarm area.
Oh, I'm just a sinner and I'm never going to be, it's like, all right. Yeah.
God says that's a very, 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 probably the most dangerous place to be in. I think he does say that, actually, the most dangerous place to be in.
We should all be striving to live a life free from sin. And I believe that that's possible. If Christ made that opportunity available through what he did on the cross, then I believe we should be in pursuit of that and never adopt a guilt or shame mentality if we're not there, because those things are from the devil as well. And I believe those are the things that died with Christ too. And but I think that you can absolutely, like, I'll say it, like, I really think that you can strive, not obviously just in your own strength, but you can strive to live according to God and his moral code. And you can have days, you can have weeks, and you can have months, and you can maybe even get to a point where you just don't even sin at all, and you're free from sin on this earth as it is in heaven. That was the Lord's prayer.
I like the part that you said about dying to flesh and allowing Christ to live in and through you in order to accomplish that as well. Because we don't have the strength at all.
And I think, like, the idea of flesh, right? It doesn't, like, biblically, it doesn't just mean like our physical body. You know what I'm saying? Like, we always think about, like, it's our physical body, but what it actually is our carnality. So the part of ourselves that always leans towards a sin nature, that is the flesh, And so I can use my body as something that's sanctified to God, and I can use it to do good things. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I believe, like, even like putting in regiments and practices and things in your life, not because you're trying to earn something or whatever, but like just simply because you're responding to that call. I believe you can put different practices in your life that push you towards that state of a life without sin. Absolutely. And I would have to speak of anybody who's ever recovered from any sort of sinful pattern or addiction of any sort. They have to put in those parameters in their life. They have to physically do the hard work a lot of those times. But our physical bodies are empowered through Christ. And that's what the Bible says. He quickens our mortal flesh. You know what I'm saying? He quickens our bodies so that we're able to do these things. And I just believe that it's possible. I'm not saying a lot of people will ever do it, but I'm just saying, like, hey man, if God says it's possible, then who am I to stand in the way of him saying that,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I appreciate you going into that. That's sick. It's really important. And I think with God, all things are possible. So
yeah, people will destroy me. Like, if a clip of that ever to get posted, people are gonna hate my guts. But I'm used to, like, living in that space, bro. I will be a free thinker at the expense of people hating what I have to say. Absolutely, because every revolutionary ever in life was a free thinker. I refuse to just bow down to culture or even Christian culture, whatever. I will think logically. I will read the Bible, and I will come to my own conclusions. You know what I'm saying? I'll listen to people, absolutely, but I will still come to my own conclusions. My conclusions and my ideas will not be other people's alone. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm down for that. And that's the space I've been in, bro. Like, I've been in that space for a long time in conversations and in whatever. And the thing is like, a lot of what I have to say is just very freaking biblically sound. So it's like kind of hard to a lot of times to argue with it, but it's like there's such a precedent sometimes for Christianity to be somewhat cultish that if you don't believe what we believe, we're going to just reject you and we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater or whatever. When in reality, like, this nation was formed on free thinking kind of principles, and we should always carry the principle of being able to exchange ideas. And so I think within Christianity, it's the exact sentiment of ironing, sharpening iron. Like, we got to be able to talk about our different beliefs, and we have to be able to form our own conclusions without the feeling of shame, we're never going to be able to control people's reactions. So all we can control is ourselves, and we can control whether or not we're going to continue to live in a place of shame-driven decisions and shame-driven lifestyle. Like, I'm not going to do that. So if people want to reject me for something I have to say, like, that's what I have to say about God is between me and God. You know what I'm saying? And so I let it be that, and I don't let that stuff get under my skin too much or whatever.
Yeah. I like it. I
dig
it. All right. I want to hear you sing a part of Look Mom.
Okay.
And then I want to hear you explain the reasoning behind the song in a minute.
And okay. Well, let's jump cut to me grabbing my guitar.
Yeah, let's do it. How are we doing, Ben?
This one pulled up pretty early.
Okay.
And then that one just pulled up.
Got it. So they're done.
The recording is done. I'm still recording here.
Perfect.
The A cam is been rolling the whole time.
Okay, sweet. And are we almost good on that one too?
No, that one I'm recording my SSD.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, right.
Okay, sweet.
Got the 3 hour.
Nice.
I'm back. All right.
Wait, let's do it again.
Do you want to?
Let's do it again. Should we pop in another SSD or just leave it?
I think we just leave it.
Okay, cool. You're pretty confident in like what you've been doing now? Sweet. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we're good. He's back.
Going tar.
Welcome back.
Okay, so do you want to hold this
Yeah, let me hold it.
like right here?
Yeah.
This is the money spot.
Yep.
All right. Suburban hood in a gated house. We grew up good, but still we made it out. Trailer parks where we made our start. You taught me how to chase my heart, yeah. But things are better now. Look, Mom, I did it. Every little thing that you said, I do. Look, Mom, I did it. 6-figure man from my bedroom. I know that it took me a while, but it was worth it to see that smile. Look, Mom, I did it. My dreams came true, and it's all because of you. Slightly out of tune.
I love it. Ba-da-da-ba-ba-da-da-da. Brings out the pad. Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah,
I could have been your live pad. We should have rehearsed that beforehand.
That's true.
That was not rehearsed at all, by the way.
I've rehearsed it before.
Well, obviously, but we didn't rehearse it
I gotta
together.
be authentic to the people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna.
You didn't rehearse it with me holding the microphone, so that's new.
Yeah, but we could do it again. Then I would have. Just kidding.
Okay, 1 minute. Why'd you write that song? What's the significance?
I wrote that song with a buddy of mine who's a brilliant writer named Cooper Hill, and I was in the kitchen, and he was in the kitchen. My mom was in the kitchen, and I was getting my mom's attention in some way, and Coop extracted out of that moment the words "Look, Mom," and me and Coop were in a writing session during like this whole week, so that was kind of in the middle of it, and we had gone back down to the studio, and he was like, dude, I have this like idea. I just got this idea from your conversation with your mom. He's like, what if we did something like, "Look, Mom, I did it." And that was like it. He was like,
Yeah.
I just feel like that could be fire. And I was like, okay.
Just riffed
And I
off of
wasn't
that.
like totally completely sold on it or anything. But we kind of ended up later flushing it out, like days later. And so we wrote that whole first verse and chorus in like 10 minutes. It was so fast.
Wow.
And then,
I mean, it makes sense because it's straight from the heart too.
yeah, no, it really was. Cause I was like, man, I want to say like, I mean, I grew up in trailer parks kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, I wasn't from like the hood kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
we just like worked out like suburban hood in a gated house, you know? And I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
We grew up good, but still we made it out. I'm like, that's the perfectest way
Perfect line, yeah.
I could have articulated that,
Yeah.
period, you know?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it just fell together so easily. And that song actually came out with a really like to me a very big artist. He's a lot bigger than me, and he was very kind enough to put that song out with me, named Ryan Mack. And
sick.
he had kind of reached out and said, you know, let's do a song together. And of course I was ecstatic about that. So I'd sent him like a few songs, and he was like, dude, Look Mom's the one, you know. And so we put that one out together in January, you know, a couple months ago. And
Did he have a similar story as well? Is that why he like gravitated towards it?
Very much so.
Okay,
Yeah.
makes
He had,
sense.
and his second verse, he kind of goes more into his story. You know, that's whenever he gets in on the song. But yeah, it was one of them songs that's just like, it's memorable, and it feels like something that hasn't really been said before, yet it's something we've heard a billion times, kind of almost. Yeah, and now it's like my top song right now. So
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Thank you,
I've
bro.
listened to it a few times for
Thank
sure.
you.
The live version again was sick. Give me.
That was fun.
Speaking of that was fun. Speaking of just like writing music and everything, you write music sometimes like in a week, span of a week.
Yeah.
How do you
most
do
of the
that?
time.
What's your process? Just like
You know,
quick.
I am always kind of seeking a dopamine release in my brain whenever I'm writing. Like, I'm trying to get to the point where something I do, doesn't matter if it's a lyric, a melody, a production thing, like I want my brain to be sparked, and I want to have that feeling of like, oh, that was sick. You know, I want to have that good feeling, because I know that's what's required to make people also feel that. And also I just want to be a good artist, you know. And so I will spend as many days as it takes to get to that point. But once I'm to that point, I can be very fast. Like, I'm not slow. Like, when it comes to making music, I've made a lot of music very consistently, day in, day out. I mean, everyone knows that. You and Carly would know that now that you've been here. But it's like, I just like it, the grind is real. You know what I'm saying?
wake up, make music, make lunch, make music, make more music,
post
work
music
out,
content.
post content, respond to DM, phone call, make music, eat dinner, hot tub, maybe.
Well, only
music, go to
if
sleep.
Ben Glunts, the legends in town, will hop in the hot tub. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm honored.
Yeah, and just like the, you know, once every couple of months, and I'm like, hey, let's get together, like with my friends. Then it falls through, and then we get together the next day. Like that'll happen sometimes, you know. But no, I've spent so much time in that daggum room on that daggum chair, and I love it. But it's a daggum room, and it's a daggum chair,
It
bro,
is.
because I've spent so much godforsaken time in there, and
It becomes very, 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 very monotonous.
yeah. And I'm just.
I will
like,
say though, props first of all
Thanks.
for the grind. Not many people will put the effort and the hours in. Personally, I am still aiming to not grind, but still aiming to continue to build my work ethic. Like,
For
I
sure.
look at you and I'm like,
as we all are.
I'm
As we
lazy,
all
right?
are.
But not to compare. But the thing I was going to say was, I was talking to your mom earlier today, and she was sharing a little bit about your family story and all that. Not to get into it, but she shared a little bit about your journey from like high school into your music career, and how you were going to go to college, but then at one point you came to your parents and were just like, hey, like, really hearing from God that I don't really think I should go to college. I want to pursue this. And, you know, among other things, she basically said one of the reasons why she felt so confident in it, and this is coming from a woman who wanted both her kids to go to college and get a degree. But she said one of the reasons why she felt so confident is because I think the very next day, or at least maybe a couple days later, you came to her with an entire schedule of like how you were going to spend your time in this music career. That blew my mind. The fact that it didn't even take you, 24 hours to figure out, okay, I'm not going to college, but this is what I'm going to do with my time.
Yeah.
And I think, not to get into the college discussion, but for many people deciding, oh, I'm not going to go to college, whatever, they just kind of get lazy with it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
for
if
sure.
I'm not going to college, I can hang out. Like, I'm an adult now. Like, I can do whatever. But you were like driven. You're like, I have a plan. It just does involve formal, quote unquote, education, but I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to grow my talents and skill sets. And that's admirable, bro.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And like, what I was gonna say is, I didn't necessarily like come up with that in like 24 hours. I don't want to make myself seem like very cool, but like, I mean, I came to my mom. I had kind of already been on the how do I develop work ethic kind of grind, you
Yeah.
know? So I'd already been making myself like schedules every day. And
Yeah.
at the time it was just like, I want to pursue music. So I didn't know exactly what that meant or, you know, what it's turned out to be. I didn't necessarily have in mind, you know, or did not have it in mind either.
Mhm.
But I was just like, for whatever that means, music, you know? And
Yeah.
at the time it was like practicing guitar. So I was spending a minimum of 3 hours a day just playing the guitar. And I was like very strict on it. Like if I was playing the guitar and I picked up my phone for 5 minutes, that got taken out of the time. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? So like it was like legit 3 hours or more of practicing guitar. And at the time, like I was real heavy involved in my church and I was playing all the time at my church. And so I really like I was very, very intentional about like I want not just to be better than everybody, but like I want to become the best guitar player here. Like I've always been the kind of guy who's like shooting for the top no matter what it is, even if it's reasonable or not reasonable. I always just like, it's just who I am or whatever. And so like I was like, I want to become the best guitar player here at my church. And it's a big church, like 60,000
Wow.
members kind of thing. And so the ton of campuses, ton of services. And so yeah, that was the grind at the time, but that was very important because that set me up for what the grind would be today. You know, guitar is absolutely wonderful. It's and you know, for people who have the privilege of having a career playing an instrument they love, it's absolutely wonderful. But I definitely, my desire shifted from more of that into the career I'm in now.
Yeah.
Which definitely has a higher ceiling, you know?
Most definitely. Yeah.
And so I'm very thankful to have developed that work ethic at something. And I think I was telling you this the other day, but like when I have kids, I don't care necessarily what they start out doing or whatever, or really like as long as they end up finding their passions, I don't care what they're doing. And then I will care about what they're doing, of course, you know, because I'll be like, I care for them, you know, but like initially speaking, I just want to make sure my kids one day try to become great at something, you know, because in the pursuit of greatness, you learn so much about yourself and life that you cannot learn in a classroom or whatever. And a lot of that is work ethic.
Yeah.
Because to be great at something, you have to, what defines greatness is better than. It's better than X, Y, and Z. And so to become great at something, you have to be acknowledged as someone who's the best or one of the best at what you do. And so it's not that everyone, obviously every human does not reach that. Only the great ones do, you know, but only the greats at what they do in their field. But not that everyone gets there, but the pursuit of really trying to get there and really believing in yourself and believing that you can, which you can, and everyone has that same shot and opportunity, you know, generally speaking. There's exceptions to every rule, but like, in the pursuit of that, you learn so much. So I would want to impart that to my kids for sure. Like whether it's basketball or drawing or even left-handed puppetry. Like I just want you to become great at something.
Left-handed puppetry.
I know. It's like
that's so oddly
the Bible
specific.
says it's a worthless pursuit or whatever. But I said that. Whatever it is, man. Like the best like shoe collection. I don't know. Like just be great at something. Be the best at something, you know, and try to be that and you'll learn so much, you know.
All right. But what if they want to become the best at arm wrestling?
Oh yeah, then do it. They will learn so much about themselves.
I had to throw that one at you. I didn't know
they
if you'd be like,
have to learn a
didn't know
lot.
if you'd be like, not better than me.
I'm happy for anybody to surpass me at arm wrestling, you know. Because I'm not trying to be the best at arm wrestling. If I was, my life would look a lot differently. And
you wouldn't be sitting at a computer all day.
That would actually be so awesome, man. I've thought about that a lot. Like if my call on life was strength training, bro. Oh my, like I know I'm not saying that I'm like this huge strong guy, but I freaking love training, bro. And it is such a like you have to be mindful. I'm not saying that people are stupid that train. I'm just saying it is a somewhat mindless activity compared to creative work. Creative work, it's like, I believe anxiety is unanswered questions. So if you have a lot of options all the time for what you're doing, it creates anxiety naturally. It's how our brains are wired. And with creative work, you're constantly faced with infinite decisions you can make at any given moment. So it's very taxing.
Well, that's why people go to the gym to attempt to help. Like it's
alleviate
for them.
It's somewhat a mindless task is what I'm saying compared to creative work, man. It really is. I'm sorry. I don't mean to throw shade on anybody.
A life with no anxiety.
And it's fun.
Live with Jesus, but don't be a creative.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like you're kind of forced into that place, and you can make it work for you, of course, but like it's not always a negative thing to be anxious. But like, with the gym, like it would be so fun to just like that's my new career in life. Is like I'm just gonna be a gym guy, gym influencer, or whatever. Yeah, I could. I've thought about
transition.
it. I mean, I definitely have to look like it,
For sure.
but
You're there. You're not there.
I'm
You're
getting
on
it.
your way
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I don't have a bad physique,
No, not
but
bad.
it
I
could be
have
a
a bad
lot
physique.
better. It could be a lot
Just
better.
kidding. I like my physique.
All could get a lot better, and that would be fun. So I don't know why I was saying all that, but
Yeah, we were talking
That
about
would
arm
be
writling and
fun.
kids and encouraging
yeah.
people to
That'd be
do
a
their
fun
best and be
lifestyle.
their best. Yeah, bro.
be a fun lifestyle to pursue.
That'd be cool to train your kid as an arm wrestler. But
My kid wanted to, even as my kid just to develop the hobby. I'd be like, that'd be so fun.
So
I'd have
amped.
someone to arm wrestle finally.
I love it. Well, dude, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
I heard you're moving to Nashville soon.
Yes.
Heck yeah, I'm excited for you. That's
Thank
gonna
you,
be
bro.
cool. Yeah, I'll have to come visit there.
Do it.
Fun fact, we not at the same time, but we used to live in the same town as kids, Franklin, Tennessee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. And how old were you again when you were there?
I was 2 to 7.
I got there when I was 7, so there was probably some overlap.
So you're a year younger than me. So there was probably a
my
year and a
bad.
half. There's
Yeah.
probably a year and a half difference.
Math, bro.
Bummer, dude.
Look at those critical
Bummer.
thinking skills, man.
Right there, bro. Right there. It comes
dude.
from the hat.
They said homeschoolers didn't have them.
Well, they were
Well,
wrong.
most of them don't, but he does. I'm just kidding.
We're done. Appreciate you guys as always. Keep creating. Keep pursuing the Lord. It's the best thing, best choice you'll make.
Amen.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you a lot. Oh, I saved it.
We are created by God to create with a driven purpose.
Number 1 tip.
Just start making stuff.
How do we seek? How do we ask for wisdom?
That's such a good question.
Have fun being what God has called you to be as a creative.
Mic drop.